Good evening. My name is Jeannie Hensman, and I will serve as moderator for this portion of our evening. We have two candidates running for County Commissioner District 5, and they are Mr. Lynn Anderson and Mr. Jeffrey Veerkamp. We look forward to a respectful learning experience. The candidates are expected to honor time limits, and you'll see our timers are sitting in the front row, and we'll give you a 15-second warning. We ask that you complete your sentence or thought as quickly as possible if they have raised the stop sign. We ask the audience to remain quiet to facilitate our broadcast. Each candidate will introduce himself with a short statement of 1.5 minute time limit. We will start introductions in alphabetical order, and we will do closing remarks in the opposite. Upon completion of the introductions, each candidate will be given 2 minutes to respond to the questions which I will present. We will alternate your opportunity to be a first responder. The candidates each have the opportunity to offer a 1-minute rebuttal, and I believe you've been given cards for that purpose. So if you wish to exercise a rebuttal opportunity, you need to signal me so. Then we will have a 2-minute closing statement. The first two questions were drafted by the League of Women Voters and provided to the candidates in advance. Okay, so if we're ready, we will start with the opening remarks, and we will begin with Mr. Anderson.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Lynn Anderson. I'm a candidate seeking the District 5 seat to the Brown County Board of Commissioners. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for holding this forum, the press for covering this forum, and the voters for taking time to listen and hear about my ideas for preserving Brown County as a wonderful place to raise a family for generations to come. I'm a 5th-generation Brown County resident, and I've lived my entire life in Bashaw Township. Growing up, I raised cattle, hogs, sheep, and my family farmed land in both Brown and Cottonwood counties. After graduating from high school, I attended Wilmer Votech studying ag production and ag mechanics. In 1990, I married my wife, Nancy, and we have 4 sons together. For the past 25 years, I've owned and operated a small regional trucking business that hauls ag commodities across southwest Minnesota. My wife, Nancy, has been a home daycare provider for the last 25 years. My family and I enjoy camping, water skiing, hunting, and I'm also a USA certified wrestling coach. My faith in Christ has played an important role in my life, and my entire family and I are active members in St. John's Church in Springfield. I've served there as a trustee, vice president, and I have a leadership role in the technology committee. While I have served in leadership positions in the past, this is my first run for public office, and I was incredibly humbled and thankful to the voters for making me the top vote getter in the primaries in August. And I'm working to earn your vote in the general election. I'm excited to be here with you tonight and look forward to sharing with you some of my thoughts and ideas that I feel will defend the working families here in Brown County. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Veerkamp?
Hi, I'm Jeff Veerkamp. I'm running for District 5 Commissioner also. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for inviting us here tonight for this forum. I've been a small business owner for the last 14 years, running a gas station convenience store in Comfrey. And this enabled me to give me time to also start farming with my dad. So I've been doing that for the last 14 years also. Before that, I did 9 years of different road construction. So between the 3 different occupations, I got a very good basis of different things and how the county runs with the roads and small business and farming. And that's why I decided to run for county commissioner. I have a family of 3 kids at home. My wife is a teacher at Comfrey School. That's pretty well the makeup of me. Thank you.
Thank you. And our first question, which you have had time to prepare, how would you strike a balance between satisfying the short-term desires of constituents with the sometimes conflicting long-term goals of the community? And we will begin with Mr. Veerkamp.
I believe it is important to use collaboration both with the constituents and with the other commissioners to come to a balanced outcome of whatever it is you need to be honest and responsible as leaders of Brown County on that item.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson?
Well, the League of Women Voters came up with a good question there at the term. Could you repeat it one more time?
Certainly. How would you strike a balance between satisfying the short-term desires of the constituents with the sometimes conflicting long-term goals of the county?
The thing I what took me back was the word desires in there instead of needs. So I thought about this a long time. I'm a representative of the constituents, and it's their voice that I intend to represent. I knocked over 1,500 doors. Not one person was against a long-term, sustainable Brown County. My job was to hear all sides and those thoughts and vote accordingly. Too many politicians think they know more about those who vote for them in office. It's not me. The views of the constituents will determine the way I vote. I guess that's my answer.
Thank you. Our second question, which you also had in advance, what are your priorities for funding county programs in the face of rising costs? And we will begin with Mr. Anderson.
Okay, the budget shows right now that human services, transportation, and public safety are the three main takers from our budget. And I don't know, I talked with Tom Henderson for a long time last week on the phone. They cover care for the elderly, disabled, and veterans. He has us in the bottom third of all counties as far as the amount of money they're taking from our budget, so he's doing a good job. Right now, there's only $2.7 million of his budget that is coming from the levy, the lowest in the area. Transportation, it's a public safety issue. It has to be taken care of. I think our current commissioners have done a good job of taking care of that. And no candidate drives these roads more than I do with my trucking business. I know the roads back and forth. Public safety, public safety for all those who serve. I appreciate their service. I don't want to micromanage the sheriff's department. I guess I'm willing to listen to whatever the current sheriff or whoever gets elected. I'm willing to listen to whatever they need and try to come to agreement on their goals and I guess that's my answer.
Thank you. Mr. Veerkamp, would you like the question repeated?
Sure.
Okay. What are your priorities for funding county programs in the face of rising costs?
Well, I think all the programs the county funds are important, and there needs to be a balance between the funding and what needs to be done in all the different programs and the budget, and balance it out every year as the budget's done, and only raise taxes if it needs to be, hopefully not, because you can't just throw money away. And basically a balance and compromise between the budget and the programs for all of them. That's my
Okay.
answer.
Thank you. I've been asked to request that you speak into the microphones as much as possible so that we're
Sorry.
getting a good audio. Thank you. Our third question, and this will be directed first to Mr. Veerkamp. What are your strengths as a leader, and what steps will you take to demonstrate leadership to the community?
Well, my first quality is I'm a good listener, and I've been on multiple boards, the Comfrey EDA, Comfrey HUD, Housing Urban Development Board. I've been on our parish council. I've been on the volunteer fire department of Comfrey for the last 24 years. And I think it make me a good board member just because I'm a great listener and know you got to reason things out with the members and your constituents.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson?
Could you repeat that one more time, please?
Certainly. What are your strengths as a leader, and what steps will you take to demonstrate leadership to our community?
Well, as a leader, I've been very involved in my church. I've been vice president. I've been head of the technology committee. That's a little-known fact. I'm a techie. For instance, our church at one time hired a company to come in and wanted to do live streaming because we live stream to churches in Mexico and all across the United States out of our church. And they wanted to put in a server. It was going to cost us between $7,000 and $9,000. I took it upon myself to deny that from happening. I said I'll figure out a better way. I found a company that that put in that I could buy a box from, hook up to their servers. I connected to the cameras, the existing analog cameras we had in our church, and we got this all done for $64 a month instead of $9,000. And then our church was able to save that money and put it toward the kitchen, and I guess that's my answer.
Okay, thank you. Our fourth question, what subcommittees would you be most interested in serving on? And we will begin with Mr. Anderson.
Well, I have an background. I have a transportation background. I did work for Mathewitz Construction as a subcontractor for a while, so I know a bit about roads and bridges also. And I'm a tech guy, so the committees that I think the commissioners basically tell you what committees you're going to be on your first run here. But I guess that's the areas that I would be most helpful in, I believe.
Okay. Mr. Veerkamp?
I guess the ones I'd be most interested would be planning and zoning and the highway department and even health and human services. It's wherever they need me the most, I guess.
Okay. And a reminder to our audience that if you have questions, we have ushers ready to take them. And I am waiting on a question. We've been through them. Okay, there we go. What would you identify as appropriate uses of bonding for county spending? And we will begin with Mr. Anderson.
Well, roads and bridges, public safety stuff, I guess. Maybe some things for health and human services too. Maybe we'll need caseworkers for mental health issues in the future. But roads and bridges and public safety issues are where I would think the bonding would go.
Okay. Mr. Veerkamp?
That's pretty well ties them up right there, roads and bridges and public safety is a very important thing. And human services if they need it, but wherever it needs to be, I guess.
Okay. Our next question. Would you support the voluntary nitrate water testing program commissioners voted down earlier this year? And our first respondent is Mr. Veerkamp.
I guess I really wouldn't give a yes or no answer to that until I could study up the whole thing. There was a reason it was turned down, but I never did study it why. So it's one of them things, if I don't know all about it, I ain't gonna give an answer yes or no. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson?
I think I'd leave it up to my constituents. I don't think that I would have voted for it. I would let my constituents do their own testing. I know there's been some issues with activists getting into the EPA, and it happened in Washington. You could watch it on. I've seen videos of it online about it, where they did a soil test of a cow, a dairy farm there. But the soil test was 1 inch deep, and any farmer in here knows a 1 inch deep soil test is a false test. And they sued this farm for tens of millions of dollars, and that's the reason I think the commissioners were leaning towards not going that way and letting the people do it themselves, because they're afraid of things like that. But I guess that's my answer. I guess I would have gone along with the rest of the commissioners on that issue.
Okay. Thank you. Our next question is also in the environmental area. What are Brown County's greatest environmental vulnerabilities? And our first respondent is Mr. Anderson.
Well, right now, I know that we're having some trouble at the landfill. There's liquid seeping out of the bottom of the landfill that has chemicals in it. And I know the current Board of Commissioners is working with a company now to pre-treat the stuff that's leaching out so that it's more easily cleaned. We have spray fields to spray some of this on, but we don't have enough spray fields. And with this year, with the wet weather, I'm sure they didn't have. I'm sure the sun is what breaks down these chemicals, and there wasn't there wasn't enough time or sun or sunny days to get this done. So they're actually having to haul it to the water treatment plant here in New Ulm. And I think it's a difficult thing to get out. And so that's why they hired, I believe that's why they hired this company to come in and pre-treat the chemicals to see whether they can more easily get them removed so that they don't go in the water, in the river.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Veerkamp?
Repeat it, please.
Certainly. What are Brown County's greatest environmental vulnerabilities?
Well, I'm sure the greatest one is the landfill by far. Then anywhere you have concentrated amount of fuel, fertilizer, chemicals for manufacturing, all that, anywhere a lot of stuff is stored, it's vulnerable to the EPA. So you need to have it secured wherever it is. Thank you.
Okay. And our next question, what plans do you have for maintaining the county's parks and expanding pollinator habitat? And Mr. Veerkamp, you will go first.
Well, I've been to all the county parks, checked them all out. They're all very beautiful parks, and I like to keep them the way they are, as nice as they are. If somebody wants to put like milkweed and stuff in there, that's what they use for pollinating and stuff. I have nothing against that either, if somebody wants to volunteer it.
Okay. Mr. Anderson?
What was the question again?
What plans do you have for maintaining the county's parks and expanding pollinator habitat?
Okay, well, they need to be maintained. The pollinator habitat, are you talking honeybees, I'm assuming? I am all for it if we can get someone to do it. I don't know if we have county funds for bringing honeybees in or not, but there are honeybee farmers around that I believe we could get that done.
Okay. Our next question is about legislation. Do you feel the county should advocate at the state or national level for legislation that affects citizens living here? And if so, how do you see yourself fulfilling this role?
Which one?
Should I repeat this?
Which one? Are you talking to me or you didn't?
No, our first respondent will be you, Mr. Anderson.
Okay. I guess that'd be my first order of business to make a trip up to the state. We need to advocate for roads and bridges. We need to advocate for more CPA for the county program assistance. We need to advocate for a farm bill, but that's a federal thing. Farm bill right now is lapsed, and we are the CRP acres are now getting a 1 year extension for the farmers that have CRP, and they don't have a farm bill for anything, so we don't know what the future brings for that. I guess that would be it for now. Well, broadband infrastructure, we should be advocating for more funds for that. And those are just a few of the funding issues I can think of to be addressed up there, but I'd be more willing to go up there and stump for that. I have a lot of people that I know up there.
Thank you. Mr.
Can you want to
Veerkamp?
repeat that, please?
Yes. Do you feel the county should advocate at the state or national level for legislation that affects the citizens living here? And if so, how do you see yourself fulfilling this role?
Well, anytime you can get more funding from the state, it's something to advocate for. And I already have talked to our representatives and our senator, and we haven't talked a lot about additional funding for the county, but I'm sure it's something that would need to be done once we get elected.
Okay. And our next question is somewhat of a follow-up. Are there present legislative issues that concern you as far as the county commissioner's role is concerned? And we would begin with you, Mr. Veerkamp.
The commissioners right now?
Yes, is there legislation enacted now that concerns you about the role of county commission, that a county commissioner would play?
Not really, no.
Okay. Mr. Anderson?
I can't think of any right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And our next question, Have you identified any organizations or groups in which you feel membership by a board member would benefit the county? If so, which groups and why is membership beneficial? And I believe we are beginning with Mr. Veerkamp.
I really don't have a list of all the things that the board members are members of. I'm sure there's quite extensive, and more connections you have with anybody is helpful in your job. Do an informed job on anything, so more the better.
Okay. Mr. Anderson?
Could you repeat that question one more time for me,
Yes.
please?
Have you identified any organizations or groups in which you feel membership by a board member would benefit the county? If yes, which groups?
I haven't identified any groups that would be beneficial that I could see, but I'm sure I'm forgetting someone.
Okay. Our next question is about childcare, and we will start with you, Mr. Anderson. Rural Minnesota and Brown County currently has a shortage of child care. What role do you believe the county can play in solving this problem, and what efforts do you intend to advance as a board member?
My wife has been in daycare for 25 years, so I've got a pretty good understanding of what's going on with the daycare situation. It's completely overregulated especially for people that have been in it for a number of years. My wife just got here now. She was at a training tonight. Her trainings have doubled since she started. Her paperwork takes 1 hour a day to complete after daycare is done. I think we need to streamline some of the paperwork. Maybe we should, instead of having, maybe we should have more inspections instead of having more trainings. Maybe the inspectors should come in more than once a year and do more inspections rather than sending these people out every night to do trainings. I think this is like our 12th training this winter so far. I don't know if I answered your question because I don't remember exactly how it was worded, but that's my answer anyway.
Okay. Mr. Veerkamp?
Please repeat it.
Yes. Rural Minnesota and Brown County currently has a shortage of child care. What role do you believe the county can play in solving this problem, and what efforts do you intend to advance?
Well, I think a big important thing is if companies could have company-sponsored daycare for their employees, that would open up a lot of room for children to be in. It'd help employees get jobs because there's a shortage of workers also. You put the two together, I think that'd be a good answer. And the county, they have grants available for people to start up daycares and stuff already. Just need to get people to utilize them a little more. That's my answer.
Thank you. How do you see the relationship between rural residents and city dwellers within the county? Do you see conflict? And if so, how would you work to resolve the conflict? We'll begin with Mr. Veerkamp.
I really don't I see the county as a whole. And if you're in town or country, it's just best that, everybody sees the whole picture so that everybody can work for a better county, not just a city dweller or a country person. I'm a farmer out in the country, but I live in the city of Comfrey, so I see both sides right there. Mm-hmm. And I just think try to get relayed across the message that we're all in this together and make a better county for all of us.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson?
Repeat it, please.
Certainly.
Thank you.
How do you see the relationship between rural residents and city dwellers within the county? Do you see conflict, and if so, how would you work to resolve it?
A little bit. I've seen a little bit. People worried about expanding hog operations. I had one lady tell me that no matter how you operate that hog operation, the excrement goes right into the groundwater, and I think there needs to be some education about that because hog operations are actually more environmentally friendly than putting on commercial fertilizers because they're very well guarded by the EPA. I guess the hog farm or the farmers have done a great job. You know, years ago you used to drive by a hog farm and it just about took the paint off your car. They're treating pits now. You don't smell it as much. They're getting along better with their neighbors than they ever have now. So I think just a little bit of education would go a long way. But that's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is about board compensation. Do you believe the current per diem structure is appropriate? Do you think there are abuses of the system that need to be addressed? Mr. Anderson, it's your turn to go first.
I happily say that I'm not aware of what the per diem exactly is because that's not why I'm running. I didn't run to make a bunch of money at this. I ran because I have time for this in my life right now. I think I could help the county. I have a lot of different areas of my background that I think that would put new eyes on budgets, and I just feel that I'm at a time in my life where I can help the county. I really don't know what the per diem is. I've heard it's $75, but I don't know if that $75 go to all and back, or what. I'm not aware of what the pay scale is on the county commissioner, position, I should say.
Okay. Mr. Veerkamp?
Tell you the truth, I haven't looked into that either, so I ain't sure what the per diem schedule even is. Because I don't honestly know, because that was not an important thing on my campaign either.
Okay. Our next question is back to an environmental issue. What can be done to stop the spread of invasive aquatic species in our Brown County lakes? And Mr. Veerkamp, it's your turn to go first.
Education is the biggest thing. Get people to clean their trailers off when you leave one lake until you go to another lake. I'm a boat owner. I always take the plug out, dry it out before it goes from one lake to another. Never put in more than one lake per day. And education, I think, is the biggest thing.
Okay.
In Candiota County, they hire college students. They train them. The DNR does, and they hire them to sit up at a lake. They sit out there when you pull your boat up to the landing area. They come and walk over to you. They check it all out, and they educate you as you're sitting there. They put a sticker on your trailers, just saying that you've been through their inspection process and that you've been trained. I think we could maybe do something like that. I'm sure they don't pay these students a whole lot. It's probably minimum wage for the summer, but just having somebody there to look out for it, I think would be a good idea.
Okay. Our next question is also about the environment. Have you identified steps the county can take to reduce its carbon footprint, as well as to encourage citizens and businesses in the county to reduce their carbon footprint? And Mr. Anderson, it is your turn.
Yeah, a couple different ways on that. I think broadband infrastructure is a good way to reduce the carbon imprint, because let's say we do medical health over the internet. There was somebody in Lake Hanscott Township or Albin Township. They don't have to drive all the way to Nome to get medical help. They can go over the broadband internet and get it done that way. Another thing that's probably a little bit closer to home for me is in 2007, the Minnesota issued a law able to haul ag products with 6 axles, a 50-foot long trailer, which makes the axles further apart from each other on roads, state roads. And most counties around here have adapted a permit policy where you pay them a permit fee, and you can haul on their roads then. And Brown County is the only county that hasn't done that. I can't go across Highway 29 with my triaxle trailer because of that. It actually does less damage to the road. The study was done, it does less damage to the road than the 5-axle trailers, and it takes about 13% of the trucks off the road. So why aren't we taking the money to help pay for Highway 29, and why are we keeping 13% more trucks on the road to haul the same amount of product? I guess that's what I have to say.
Okay. Mr. Veerkamp?
Will you please repeat that question?
Sure. Have you identified steps the county can take to reduce its carbon footprint, as well as to encourage citizens and businesses in the county to do the same?
I guess the biggest thing to encourage would be to recycle as much as possible, even more than we are now, so less of it ends up in the landfill. And keep the equipment we use for the highway department as new and as efficient as we can, so that it uses less fuel and everything too for the same job. And just cutting waste everywhere.
Okay. And I believe this might be our last. Okay, this is our last question. Do you believe Brown County would benefit from a more diverse population? And if so, what would you do? Please give an example of when you have shown acceptance of and learning from other cultures. And Mr. Veerkamp, it is your turn to go first.
Our county for the last 25 years has gotten quite more diverse than it was, say, 25 years ago. And in my store in Comfort there, I've hired several minorities, and I've learned a lot from them. I can't really put my finger on exactly what, but I just learned a lot of daily life things from them. And they fill a lot of spaces for we need help, and they're willing to work, so I have nothing wrong with it. Thank you.
Mr. Anderson?
Well, as a USA wrestling coach, I've coached kids from all different backgrounds, colors, creeds, religions, and when they strap on that singlet and I'm sitting in their corner and they head out there, that's my child. So I don't really understand racism or stuff like that, but we all see them as wrestlers, and the rest of our teammates, they sit around, they cheer for them, they slap each other in the back. There's nobody ever thinks about race during those times. They learn about each other's backgrounds and circumstances, of course, but I think just being in a team and working together is what really brings the races together. There is no color once you're working as a team, working together, and I think if we can figure out some programs to get people to work together in those type of ways, like in sports events, like what I coach, I think it would go a long way to people not noticing what color you are anymore.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll take time for you to present your closing remarks, and we will go the opposite order of the introduction. So, Mr. Veerkamp, you will go first.
I don't have a pre-written one. I just ask the voters to look at my record and my openness to learn and listen, and I think I'd make a great county commissioner. That's why I decided to run. I want to serve the county of Brown County because I've lived here all my life. I'm a business owner, I'm a farmer, and I've done a lot of different things in the community of Comfort and Western Brown County. So that's why I really think I'd make a great county commissioner. That's why I decided to run. Thank you.
Once again, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for putting on this event and for all you attending or listening in this evening. I'd like to also thank each and every person that has opened the door, invited me to a meeting, shook my hand in a parade, or just said hello to me in passing. It's been a pleasure reconnecting with old friends and meeting new ones. My vision for Brown County has always been consistent through my campaign. It's all about ensuring working families have a voice and that county budgets don't grow faster than family budgets. I'm also proud to be the first candidate to attend every town board meeting and city council meeting. I was proud to be the first candidate to show up many of your doors. My campaign has consistently spoke about standing up for working families, defending agriculture, keeping property taxes in check, promoting small business growth, and addressing the child care shortage. My opponent told the New Ulm Journal that in the Hanska Herald that there was no big issues facing Brown County. I couldn't disagree more. The idea that there are only a few small issues, county issues that need to be addressed shows a disconnect, in my opinion, from reality. Brown County is an absolutely fantastic place to live, work, and raise a family, and it's important to me that we address real issues and that will keep it that way. My name is Lynn Anderson, and I humbly ask for your vote for Brown County Commissioner on November 6th. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes our evening's forum. The League of Women Voters thanks you for your participation and for your willingness to serve the citizens of Brown County. Thank you to our question screeners, the NewCat crew, KNUJ, and the Journal. Remember that the forums will be rebroadcast, and you can check that schedule with KNUJ's internet and also NewCat. If you need to register to vote or need more information on elections, talk to one of the League members here tonight. And in addition, you can find comprehensive information about elections at www.mnvotes.org. Election Day is Tuesday, November 6th. Please vote. Thanks and good night.
Thank you.